Do you feel that managing documents and emails takes more time than actual work? The operational burden of organizing files, drafting repetitive responses, and sorting through cluttered inboxes reduces our ability to focus. It's time to evolve towards systems that work for us. Workspace Studio, a bridge between your talent and automated execution. To begin, let's go to our bookmarks bar, enter the Zamora Company folder, and look for the AI section. There, we will find a direct link to the Google Workspace Studio automations. As you can see, a Google environment opens up that we are already very familiar with. Minimalist, clean, and easy to use. In the right panel, you will see several shortcuts, from creating an automation from scratch to discovering the options that Workspace Studio offers us. You can also see your own creations, which in this environment are called flows. In the central part, we have a text box where we can naturally ask Gemini to create our own flows. Next, we will see how a flow is structured. As we can observe, it is divided into two parts. First, the starter, which acts as the trigger or event that starts the process. Workspace Studio offers us a wide variety of starters. After the actions, there are the actions that are executed automatically once the trigger is activated. In the right panel, we can see how those steps are formed and also edit them. Additionally, we have a wide variety of additional steps that we can use to create our own flows. Practical case 1, goodbye to chaos. Create a smart labeling system. Without further ado, let's create our first flow. In this case, we will ask Gemini to generate it through a prompt. This way, we will better understand how these workflows function and how they are structured. We will ask Gemini to create a flow for generating smart labels. As you will see, with a very simple command, the tool is capable of designing exactly the automation we requested. Unlike conventional Gmail labels that we create manually through filters, smart labels automatically select emails based on a prompt we defined beforehand. As we see below, Gemini has already generated our flow by automatically assigning the necessary steps. In this case, the first one, which is part of the starter, is triggered when we receive an email. That is the trigger for our automation. Next, in the left panel, we can choose whether we want the process to apply to our entire inbox or to a specific email. For now, we will leave it set to all emails. If we continue analyzing our flow, you will see that step 2, within the action section, is called Add Label. At this point, we can choose between using a standard label that we already have in Gmail or opting for AI-enhanced labels, smart labels. As you can see, we have a predefined list. You just need to click on the pencil icon of each one to edit it or check its function. For this example, we are going to create a custom label. Its function will be to automatically organize all emails that arrive in our inbox and contain tasks specifically assigned to us. As you can see, there is no need to use filters. Simply with a prompt, we define exactly what we want the label to do for us. Once we have our flow properly set up, we are going to perform a test run. This function is very useful for testing all our flows before launching them and checking that everything works well. As we can see, the process runs correctly and is ready to be used. We just need to click on Turn on, and we would be done. Practical case 2, Gmail and Drive, your automatic file organizer. Next, we will use a predefined template from Workspace Studio. In this case, we will choose the flow that helps automatically save the attachments from our emails into a Drive folder. It is Auto-Add Email Attachments to Drive. Just like with the prompts, this flow already has the steps defined, so we will only need to finish configuring it. As we can see, the starter is triggered when I receive an email. If we look to the right, we need to check the option All Emails. Next, in the Action section, you will see that the second step is a filter. This will help us define what type of files we want to save: images, PDFs, videos, etc. In our case, we will configure it to filter only PDF files. Finally, the third step is very clear. Add the files from our emails to Drive. When reviewing the configuration of this step, we assigned a specific folder from our Drive, which in this case is called Attachments. It is important to verify that the assigned variable is correct, as it depends on the filter we created earlier to ensure that only PDF files are saved in that folder. In this case, we will activate the flow by clicking Turn on. To check that everything is working correctly, we will send ourselves an email with attachments. As you can see, after receiving the message, the flow has automatically saved the files in the folder we indicated earlier. Practical case 3. From Archive to Google Sheets, Automatic Data. To finish, we are going to create a flow from scratch step by step. First, we head to the plus symbol that appears on the left side of the Workspace Studio control panel. As you will see, there is still nothing configured, so we will title our flow as Automatic Data Extraction. As its name suggests, it will be used to extract information from a file, in this case, an invoice, and dump it into a spreadsheet. For this example, we will rely on the flow we created earlier, which saved attachments to Drive. As a starter, we will choose the option when an item is added to a folder. Upon selecting it, we will see on the right that we need to indicate the source folder. Here, we will choose Attachments. Now comes the best part. At the end of this same step, we find the option, Allow this flow to start when other flows add Gmail attachments to Drive. By marking it, we will allow one flow to activate another, a crucial step to ensure that both processes communicate correctly. We continue selecting our action. If we consider the purpose of this flow, the first thing the system must do is decide whether the file in the folder is actually an invoice or not. Therefore, our second step will be to set up a decision action. At this step, we will give a direct instruction through a simple prompt. It must decide whether the file in the selected folder is an invoice or not. To ensure accurate analysis, we will use the variables generated when a file is added to Drive. Specifically, we will ask it to examine both the content of the file and the file name, inserting the corresponding variables into the flow design. If we look closely, when choosing a decision step, the system automatically adds a check step. This serves as a double check. Here, we will indicate that if the requirements of the previous step are met, that is, if the result is true, continue with the process. Next, we will add a substep, which is basically a step within another. So far, our flow has already determined if the file is an invoice. The next step is to define what we want it to do when the result is positive. Although we have a wide variety of options, in our case, we will use the extract step to ask it to automatically extract all the data from that invoice. Now we are going to configure what information we want to obtain from the invoice. First, we add the variable that will be analyzed for extraction, which in this case comes from step 1. Next, in the Action Items section, we will specify what specific data we need, the invoice number, and the total amount. In order for Gemini to locate the information correctly, we will assign a brief description to each field to serve as a guide during the analysis process. To complete our flow, we need to define where to dump the extracted data. As you can see, I already have the spreadsheet created where we will store the information. For this, we will add another substep with the goal of inserting a row in that document. When configuring this step, we first select the file and the specific sheet. Then, we indicate that the new row should be added right after the last existing one. Finally, we assign the corresponding data to each column using the variables we generated earlier in the extraction step. Our flow would already be finished. Let's get the flow running, and then I will send back the previous files. In this case, there are 2 invoices and a template file to see how the flow correctly executes the decision step between an invoice and a different file. Let's look at the panel on the right to see how each of our flows is executing. First, we will see how the attachments are saved in the folder we specified, and then how all the data from our invoices is automatically extracted, also ignoring the third document that is not an invoice. As you can see, the flow executes perfectly and automatically adds the files to Drive and all the data from our invoices to the spreadsheet. Do you want more content? Keep learning with us at youtube.com/Zamora Company and join our Google group IA Zamora Company to stay updated on our posts. We look forward to seeing you